All right, the witness has been sworn. Before we start with direct, I am going to inquire, because this court's being live streamed as well as open to the public, I need to ask the witness, have you observed or watched the trial in any way?
No.
Okay, have you discussed anybody else's testimony with them that they've given at trial?
No.
Okay, thanks for your responses, Mr. Wixom. You can inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, will you please state your full name and spell it for the record?
It's Patricia Later, Patricia, Later, Later.
Thank you. And ma'am, where do you live?
I live in Spanish Fork, Utah,
Where is that relative to Springville, Utah?
just south of it.
Have you ever lived in Springville, Utah?
Yes, for many years.
Which years did you live there?
From, let's see, 1995 or 1996 until after high school. And then I moved to Denver and then came back and lived there. I've lived there.
Ma'am, are you related to Tammy Daybell?
Yes, I'm her first cousin.
And did you have a strong relationship with her when you were younger?
Sorry. I did. We were 7 months apart, and we pretty much were like sisters. Grew up with each other.
Could you take a moment and just expand to the jury on that? How much time did you spend with her? How well did you know her growing up?
So my mom was a single mom, and my Aunt Phyllis, her sister, used to watch us. And then as we got older, they lived in Anaheim and we lived in LA. I'd go out and spend weeks during the summer with her, and we went on family trips together. At one point, we wrote letters back and forth to plan a show for a camping trip we were going to go on. And then when I moved to Springville, we went to high school together. We were best friends, drove to school every day. She encouraged me to join band, even though I didn't play an instrument, so we could be together and go on a trip to California with the band. And also she encouraged me to take some classes with her, so we'd have classes together too.
So am I hearing correct? Did you attend high school together?
That's correct.
Did you do any other social activities with her in high school?
We did lots of stuff. We went on double dates together. We pretty much hung out on the weekends together, watching movies or whatever kind of thing we do.
As adults, have you stayed in contact with each other prior to her passing?
Yes. When she lived in Springville, I used to go visit her. Well, when I lived in Springville, we worked at the same school, elementary school, Art City Elementary, for about 2 years, I think. Art City Elementary. And she was the computer tech and I was teaching. I taught 5th grade for a year and then I taught 3rd grade. And she would come down and leave little notes. She would leave little notes for me with like inside jokes. I still have one in my nightstand. Excuse me. I would visit her at home sometimes and I'd be out driving and I could just stop by and we'd chat with each other and visit.
Do you recall which years it was that you worked together at that school?
It had to be 2010. Is when I graduated, so 2010 to I worked there 2010 to 2016, and she had left a couple of years before that.
Were there other years during that same time frame that you lived in Springville when Tammy did?
Yes,
What years were those, the best you can recall,
that I lived in Springville.
that you were both living in Springfield at the same time?
Um, that whole time. So, I can't recall what year she moved to Utah or to Idaho. Sorry.
Okay. After she moved to Idaho, how often did you have contact with her?
At first it was like every couple of weeks, and then it kind of went down to a month. She just, I don't know, we didn't talk as much anymore. We would text each other back and forth if like we heard a song that we used to listen to, or we both liked Harrison Ford. So if something on the news was with Harrison Ford, we'd send each other the links and things like that.
Did you attend any funeral, or I'm sorry, did you attend any family gatherings together, any weddings or any occasions like that?
During that time,
Yes.
she came to my wedding in 2016, and then we attended a couple during the time she was in Idaho. Sorry, are you talking about when she was in Idaho?
Any time since the time she moved to Idaho?
Um, yeah, that she came to my wedding was probably the only time.
Okay. I want to draw your attention back to October 19th of 2019. Did you learn of Tammy's passing that day?
Yes, I did.
How did you learn of it?
My mom called me. My mom called me on the phone, and she was crying hysterically and told me Tammy passed. And it didn't register who she said, because it didn't make sense that my cousin Tammy had passed. So I said, who passed, Mom? And she said Tammy, and I still didn't make sense. And I said, who are you saying? And she said, Phyllis, my Aunt Phyllis called and told me that Tammy passed.
Why was that confusing to you?
Just didn't make any sense.
Why not?
She was so young and healthy.
Did you have the opportunity to attend her funeral and viewing?
Yes, I did. I attended both the viewing on Monday and the viewing prior to the funeral on Tuesday.
Which Monday and Tuesday relative to the date she passed? Do you remember?
Um, the ones following it was really quick.
And you did attend the evening viewing on Monday?
That is correct.
Who did you attend it with?
I went alone. I had, when I found out she was passed, I actually was on fall break in California. So I flew back on Monday. I think my flight got in like 5:45. And then I went to the funeral or the viewing after that.
When you were there, did you see your daughter Hannah?
Yeah, so when I walked in, um, I was really upset and kind of looked for someone comforting, like some family.
And did you and Hannah have the opportunity to go through the viewing line?
Yes, that we did.
Were you standing next to each other when you did that?
Yeah, she was right next to me with her hand on me. Yeah,
Did you see Chad in that viewing line?
I did.
Did you observe anything about his emotional state or demeanor that night?
Um, when I was going through, he was just talking with people, and when someone would cry, he would cry, but he was mostly just visiting with whoever was coming up to him.
Did anything about the way he was acting strike you as unusual?
I felt like he should have been more sad, I guess.
Did you, at that point in time, did you engage him in any conversation?
Well, I had gone through the line really quick the first time, and then the second time, I went through and hugged her kids, and then walked past the casket, and then went and talked to Chad. Uh,
Was Hannah with you when you went to talk to Chad?
yeah, yes, she was.
Can you explain to the jury, what was it that you and Chad talked about? What did Chad say?
I just went up to him and told him I was sorry for his loss, and we hugged, and I asked him what happened.
Did he say?
He said that Tammy wasn't feeling well, and she was coughing a lot, and she threw up. Well, he asked if she was okay. She threw up, and she came to tell him that she threw up and that she was going to bed. Um, he asked her if she was okay, and she said yes, she was feeling better that after she threw up, and then she went to bed. And then we both started crying, and then before I left him, he told me that Tammy loved you so much.
Did he say anything else or more specifically about how he'd found that Tammy had passed away that night?
Yeah, he said that he had so she went to bed, and he stayed up working. And then he went to bed later. I think he said Tammy went to bed around 10 o'clock, and he went to bed later, and then he woke up in the morning because she rolled out of bed or fell out of bed, and that's what woke him up.
Anything else that you can remember in that conversation that he described about how he'd found Tammy?
She was kind of half on and half off the bed.
The next day, did you have the opportunity to attend Tammy's funeral service?
Yes, I did.
Was that held at the same place?
Yes, yeah, at the church.
When you attended the service, did you happen to hear Chad speak?
I did.
Was there anything about his talk or speak at the funeral service that caused you concern or stuck out to you?
Yeah, there was a couple things that he said that um I just thought weren't very nice.
What were those things?
Um, he said that um the first thing he said was that she wasn't easy to live with. He said that um she was lazy. He said that she had depression, which she did, but to say it out in front of the whole congregation, I thought was, I guess, embarrassing for her. I don't know.
So why were those things of concern to you?
I just didn't think they were very nice.
Was there anything about his demeanor at the funeral service before, during, or after speaking that you noticed?
Um, I I noticed after um Emma told us a story about Tammy wanting more pets, um and that she would just kind of sneak them in. And I looked over at him, and he kind of looked like a little concerned, and then he was laughing about it. And then um
When you say him, did you mean Chad?
yes, that's correct. And
Okay.
then Garth told a story about um, Tammy playing video games, and he would be her lookout for when Chad got home. And same thing, he looked kind of like concerned, and then he started laughing. But it was like a split second, because I looked over at him to see if that was upset him, because I would, I guess, be upset too, but he just laughed it off too. Sure.
Why did those things that Emma and Seth had shared, why were they of concern to you?
So it was Emma and Garth. I just felt like they had to hide what they were doing. Tammy had to hide what she was doing from Chad.
What do you mean by that?
Like, to be careful to not get in trouble, I guess.
In trouble with who?
Chad.
Were there occasion when Chad and Tammy lived in Springville that you would go over to visit Tammy at her house?
Yes.
When you would go visit her, was there anything that you would notice in those interactions that caused you any concern about Chad?
Judge, could I have some foundation as to time, date, year?
Mr. Wexler.
Sure. With respect to that question, can you think of a time that you went to Tammy's house and the best you can recall, let's tell the court and the jury, what year did this happen?
So it was the same years that we lived in Springville. 1995 to till the time she moved to Idaho.
So is it fair to say that you would visit her often at their home?
Yeah, at least once a month, if not more.
Were there any particular visits that you had that stand out, that you ever had concerns with Chad's behavior? And I'm asking you to try to recall when these were, if you can.
I don't know specific dates, but when I would go visit, normally I just visit when Chad wasn't there, and I would stop by for a quick visit, and then it would end up being hours, and we'd visit about our kids and old memories and whatever. And eventually Chad would get home. He would come in and sit next to her and put his hand on her knee and visit. But I always kind of got a feeling that I needed to go home, like at that time.
Did he ever ask you to leave, or that
No.
was just a feeling?
Just a feeling.
Was that a consistent thing that would happen when you'd go to her home?
Yes.
Was there ever anything that you were aware of that you had any tension or relationship issues with Chad that might make him feel that way?
No.
Your Honor, I don't have any more questions.
All right, thanks, Mr. Wexler. Cross-examination, Mr. Pryor.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Later, it sounds from what you testified to that you and Tammy knew each other quite well as you were both growing up at a young age, right?
That is correct.
And then in 2015, when Tammy and Chad moved with the family to Utah, that contact dissipated quite a bit. Would that be fair?
Yes, when they moved to Idaho, that happened.
Right. And would it surprise you to learn that we have Tammy's phone records and correspondence, all her electronic data? Would it surprise you to learn that in the last year of her life, we don't have any communications between you and her of any kind?
I don't think I feel like that's not correct.
Okay. You
'Cause-
feel it's not correct, or do you know that there was no communication between you and her the last year of her life?
We would message on Facebook and text. I don't think that's correct.
Okay. So it's Facebook is what you're telling me. That's how you communicated with her?
Messaging and yeah.
Okay.
And she would call me.
Now, when you were in the line on the first day of the services, you mentioned that you were there with your daughter, correct? Or with
I,
Ms. Munoz,
I came in by myself and then she came up to me.
but you were standing there with Ms. Munoz when you went through the line together, is that right?
Mhm.
And at that point, what your testimony is that Chad told you at the time that he woke up in the morning and Tammy had fallen out of bed in the morning. Is that correct?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
That Tammy fell out of the bed and that she had passed away and then that he discovered her in the morning. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that she had been having a coughing fit all night. Is that right?
She had been coughing prior to bed. Yes.
Okay. And while you and Miss Munoz were standing there together, was there any discussion about Tammy or Chad going upstairs or downstairs in the house?
I can't recall.
Okay. So you don't recall that ever happening?
I don't recall. I don't
Okay.
remember it.
Okay, Judge, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, does either side intend to recall the witness?
Judge, the state may call her in rebuttal.
All right. With that in mind then, so there is an order, Ms. Later, that prohibits witnesses from watching other witnesses' testimony during the trial, so please comply with that. In the event you're recalled, I'll be asking you if you have watched any of the other trial proceedings since you testified today. If you have watched them, then there might be an issue with you being able to testify or violating that court order. So with that, that will conclude then your testimony. You can go ahead and step down.
Thanks, Your Honor.